Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundless success to join today. Let's get you to the next level. We're here because the news is being distorted. We're here because people are being inundated with misinformation on social media. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup.
This is the raw, naked truth.
More lies of the Biden administration revealed. An economic deal with Saudi Arabia. Inflation slows to its lowest point in 4 years, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Donald Trump on Tuesday signed a strategic economic partnership alongside Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The partnership included a series of deals on energy, defense, mining, and space-based agreements that amount to $600 billion and could help create up to 2 million U.S. jobs, according to President Trump. Roughly a dozen memorandums of understanding and letters of intent were agreed to under the new partnership. Several of the agreements tracked with previously stated ambitions by both Washington and Riyadh, particularly when it comes to defensive deals. While the details of the agreements remain unclear, there were deals included that had not been previously flagged ahead of the president's visit to the Middle East, like the cooperation agreement between Saudi Arabia and the Smithsonian Institute National Museum of Asian Arts, as well as an agreement established with the Smithsonian Institute National Zoo and Conservation Biology. Revenue from tariffs hit a record high of more than $16 billion in April, helping to reduce the pace of the U.S. budget deficit accumulation, according to the Treasury Department announcement on Monday. Customs duties totaled $16.3 billion last month, nearly double the $8.2 billion brought in for March, as President Donald Trump's sweeping protective tariffs took effect. Trump slapped at least 10% on imports from certain countries and ramped up a trade war with China by hitting the communist nation with as much as 145% tariffs on goods. Year-to-date revenue from October 2024 through April 2025 hit $59.2 billion and is up significantly from the $44.1 billion collected over the same period in fiscal year 2024. President Trump announced Tuesday he was rolling back sanctions on Syria at the urging of allies in the Middle East in an effort to boost the new government in Damascus. I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness, Trump said in remarks in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, prompting a standing ovation from a sea of Saudi officials in the room. Trump said Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Turkish President Erdogan had encouraged him to remove the sanctions which had been imposed against the former Bashar Assad regime amid a brutal civil war. The Assad government was driven out of office by Syrian rebels late last year. The Biden administration lied to America about its economic conditions. The administration claimed to have added almost 400,000 jobs from July through September of last year, but new data released this week suggests none of those jobs ever existed, and the country actually lost 1,000 jobs during that period. Every month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics produces estimates for the number of non-farm payrolls in the country, as well as revisions for the last 2 months' estimates, compiled from a survey of approximately 200,000 businesses. But the BLS also publishes much more comprehensive quarterly data called Business Employment Dynamics that come from a census of over 12 million businesses. This more accurate data set was just released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the third quarter of last year, which ran from the start of July through the end of September. In stark contrast to the monthly job reports showing an increase of 399,000 jobs during the third quarter, these new numbers show a decline of 1,000 private sector jobs. Former President Biden's aides considered the possibility of putting him in a wheelchair if he was reelected to a second term. An unreleased book authored by CNN Jake Tapper and Axios' Alex Thompson reveals. Biden's physical deterioration, most apparent in his halting walk, had become so severe that there were internal discussions about putting the president in a wheelchair, but they couldn't do so until after the election, the authors wrote. In Original Sin, President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again, according to a Tuesday report from Axios. His stride was heavily impacted by a deteriorating spine. The book was informed by interviews after the 2024 election with over 200 people, many of them Democratic Party insiders. Biden had several falls throughout his tenure in office. One of the most notable was during the Air Force Academy commencement ceremony in June 2023, where he fell on stage after tripping over a sandbag. Inflation rose slightly in April, remaining above the Federal Reserve's target rate, but slowing to its lowest point in 4 years. The Bureau of Labor Statistics on Tuesday said that the Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of how much everyday goods like gasoline, groceries, and rent cost, rose 0.2% in April compared with last month, while it was up 2.3% on an annual basis. The annual inflation rate was the lowest since February 2021. Both of those figures were slightly cooler than the estimates of economists who predicted a monthly figure of 0.3% and an annual inflation of 2.4%. The rise in monthly inflation comes after an unexpected decline in March when it fell 0.1%. Headline inflation was unchanged in April. Core prices, which exclude more volatile measurements of gasoline and food to better assess price growth trends, were up 0.2% from the prior month, slightly cooler than expected, and 2.8% on an annual basis, in line with what economists expected. The headline figure was unchanged, while the monthly figure was up from a 0.1% increase a month ago. GM has said it made an EV battery breakthrough. The U.S. automaker revealed it's developing a groundbreaking battery technology to boost the range of its electric trucks and SUVs at a cheaper cost by 2028. Instead of using cobalt and nickel, GM will use lithium manganese-rich cells, which have been around for decades, but with a much shorter lifespan until now. Ford is working on launching similar battery technology by 2030, but GM expects to be first to market. The ultimate goal is to lower the barrier of entry for consumers to adopt electric vehicles. Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred on Tuesday removed Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and 15 other deceased people from the league's permanently ineligible list, ending their lifetime bans after death. The decision, a major shift in baseball's position towards gambling, opens the doors for Rose, baseball's all-time hit leader, and Jackson, caught up in the 1919 Black Sox cheating scandal, to be considered for Hall of Fame induction starting in 2028. Rose was banned in 1989 for betting on baseball while managing the Cincinnati Reds, and Jackson, a popular Chicago White Sox star, was banned in 1921. According to legend, a tearful young boy approached Jackson after he was expelled from baseball and pleaded, "Say it ain't so, Joe." Rose died last September, never seeing his name on a Hall of Fame ballot. President Trump had called for his reinstatement earlier this year. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.